Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our Talks with Walt, as we are calling our readings through the deathbed edition of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. We turn now to the little poem Broadway, poem number 27 of the 58 of Stanza 70, and we are back to Whitman's love of New York City. Of course, that great city and that great street now will be celebrated. Our assumption is that you've been following our stuff at LearnStrong.net, down that left-hand side, Talks with Walt. Everything from the inscriptions, and of course we've had a number of poems that reference Broadway or New York City. All of that matters. Of course, you'll remember Broadway Pageant. You'll also remember Song of Myself 33 with Broadway itself. And we just finished with Blythe Road. Now, our Norton's background information will tell us that this poem was first published in the New York Herald, a number of these poems being published there, April 10th, 1888. Now, I'd like to point out that this is a very emotional poem. Notice you're going to have a whole bunch of exclamation points, 9 of them, in fact. And so we're going to have this kind of emotional outburst happening with his celebration of Broadway and, of course, New York City. Notice that we don't have complete sentences. It's almost just like little vignettes, little observations. And then we'll have a lot of this anaphoria, this thing of repetition. We're going to get 4 of the what, okay? What hurrying human tide. So right away, we're going to join the idea of the ocean and the waves and all of that. We saw that obviously at Navesink and other parts of Stanza 70 already. Obviously very popular in Leaves of Grass. The humans are kind of like that, okay? What hurrying human tides are day or night? What passions, winnings, losses, ardors swim thy waters? So again, we're playing around with this motif of the ocean and the city. What whirls of evil? Well, you'll remember this whirls from Song of Myself 26 and from Blue Ontario passage number 6 and 12. Whirls of evil, bliss. Notice again the brilliance of Whitman. He puts the two together. And sorrow stem thee. What curious questioning glances. And of course the stem takes us back to Song of Myself 46, 47. I will you to be a bold swimmer. What curious questioning glances, glints of love. Are you ready for this? Glances gets used one time as a word in Leaves of Grass, it's here. Glints gets used one time in Leaves of Grass, and it's here. And then he'll use the word leer, which takes us back one other time to a font of type that we just worked with recently. Envy, scorn, contempt, hope, aspiration. Notice 6 of these ideas. They're all contained. In other words, both sides, the good and the evil is contained in the city. Thou, and then we're going to get 6 of these thous. Thou portal, thou arena. We've seen this in earlier poems in Leaves of Grass. Thou of the myriad long-drawn lines and groups. It's amazing how nothing's changed since his portrayal of Broadway here. And then in parenthetics, could but thy flagstones, curbs, facades tell their inimitable tales, right? No question. Wouldn't it be awesome if the pavement could talk and tell stories of New York City and of Broadway? Thy windows rich and huge hotels, thy sidewalks wide, in parenthetics. Thou of the endless, sliding, mincing, shuffling, notice his trinities are all over the place in this poem, feet. Thou, like the party-colored world itself. And there it is, right? In other words, Broadway is almost like a mirror of the entire world. Like infinite, teeming, mocking life. I love his 3s again. Infinite, teeming, mocking life. Of course, teeming, again, takes us back to the very words that will end up on the Statue of Liberty, huh? Thou, visored, vast, unspeakable show and lesson. Now, I've told you guys, again, he loves to see the world through the eyes of Shakespeare, as if it's a stage, a show. And then the fact lesson is the last word, that is to say, Whitman as teacher, Whitman as pedagogue. Well, what's the major message here? Well, I think his argument is that American life is vast. It encompasses everything, and that New York represents what's best of America, and to the world. It's a great representative to the world. Notice the lack of complete sentences here. It's almost like this just staccato bursts of emotional information. And I love his word choice. Glances and glints only get used one time in Leaves of Grass, and it's in this poem. 3A, well, obviously all of the poems of Leaves of Grass that have to do with New York. Obviously we could mention Brooklyn Ferry right away. But I also want to mention the celebration of the city that so influenced Carl Sandburg, of course, his great Chicago poem of 1914. We've given full lectures at learnstrong.net over that poem. Finally, at 3B, to own a poem like this, what are your views of New York City? Do you see that city as worthy of your respect and adulation? Some of you maybe never visiting that city yet, and so that's on your bucket list. And if not New York City, what is your favorite city in America or in the world? And is it true that great cities always capture both sides of that yin-yang symbol, if we can say it that way? I hope that Whitman continues to be a source of joy for you. Thank you.